Welcome back to a new episode of the Past Lives podcast. For the next 15 minutes, I will be your host, and today we have for the first time a guest in our studio, Maria, which has gone through the experience of recollecting past lives and will share with us today insights from her experience. As I promised you last time, I tried the best I could to find people who I know for sure that have gone through past life recollection experiences, and I've prepared a series of more general questions that I will address to each guest, which I hope will also help you to understand this phenomenon better. Today we will begin with Maria. Following that, in the next episodes we will talk to other invited guests directly, and at the very end we will invite the master that teaches this method and from whose books I'm also quoting teachings, as well as from which I have directly also learned this method. We will have him in the studio so that he will also share his insights directly with us. Without further ado, welcome Maria. Thank you for accepting the invitation. I'm very happy that you agreed to share from your experience with us. So let's get started with the questions. So let's start with the first question. Why are you interested in the subject of reincarnation?
Well, I had some experiences with some abilities which I did not learn in this life. So I wanted to find answers to why I am prone to do some things or to be interested in some subjects. And that's how I found out about regressions, and I started to do some regressions, and I actually found my answers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What led you to look for ways to remember the past lives, apart from what you just mentioned now?
I have a vivid curiosity about subjects such as spirituality, enlightenment. I wanted to find out more about this world, more that meets the eye, because I am sure of it. I am sure that we are not what we can see with our eyes. We are more than this, and that's what drove me to find out and to search in spiritual paths the answers.
From the intuition part.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And what methods have you found to recall past lives so far?
Well, so far I have tried regressions, and they worked very well for me. I also had the time when I practiced some kind of hypnosis, but it's not the same as regressions, you know?
Mm-hmm.
In regressions, you can go deeper and you can find more meaning than you can find in the hypnosis techniques. So
that would have actually been my next question. What is the difference between the methods that you found? So if you could elaborate on that, it would be really interesting.
Yes, of course. Well, in regressions, there is also an energetic part, a part that provides you some help to deal with the subject that you are confronting with. In hypnosis, it's not the same energetic support, and also it's a difference between the approach. The regression technique can be used also for spiritual evolution. Meanwhile, hypnosis is more prone to help you with trauma. And there also is the part where in regressions, your level of consciousness it's higher than your level of consciousness in hypnosis. In hypnosis, you get into a state in which you are not as conscious as you are in regressions.
Mm-hmm. So overall, as I understand, it's a more complex technique.
It's, yes, more complex.
In which you reach altered states of consciousness on a higher level in comparison to hypnosis. And you also mentioned that you can use this also for spiritual evolution in comparison to hypnosis.
Yes.
So how many times have you had this experience of recalling your past lives, and how many lives were you able to recall so far? If you could give us a number.
Well, to be honest, I am practicing this technique for 5 or 6 years.
Oh, that's a lot of time.
Yes. And at the start, I was very excited, and I did like one regression per week. So
okay. So 52 regressions per year times 5, we reach about 250 regressions. If
yes,
you calculate
but
like that, minimum.
as time passed by, the enthusiasm, I don't know, and the time was otherwise managed. And let's say, I don't know, I've made like 150, 200 regressions. Let's say roughly around this number.
Okay, so we are speaking to the right person in terms of experience with this method.
As a patient. As a patient, yes.
Well, let's stick to that. And I would like you to remember, if it's possible. I mean, I understand it was 5 years ago, but how was your first experience like?
Oh,
first.
I can remember it vividly, like it was yesterday, because my first experience was very impressive. Before regressions, I've made Ericksonian hypnosis, and I had a vague idea about what would it be like, how it would go, and stuff like that. But I lay there and I waited for the therapist to ask me questions. I don't know. I was used with hypnosis. And the approach was very different, because I lay there, the therapist guided me through relaxation. So far it was the same. And then it followed the energetic part, where the therapist applied to me some energetic process which helped me deeply to get into a state of consciousness, elevated, I don't know, very clear. Everything was very clear, very clear, let's say, very clear, like sky on a sunny day, very, very clear. And throughout the regressions, the questions, I don't know, hit me differently. And the answers came from a place deep within. And it was a very, very profound experience. And that was the moment I fell in love with regressions. Yes.
From the first time then? It
yes,
was love at first experience,
yes,
so to say.
Yes.
And what did you actually remember? Can you tell us more about that? What did you actually see in that first regression?
To be honest, I do not recall the exact moment, but roughly the subject was about my childhood and a trauma related with my heart surgery. Something around this subject was something related to this subject. Yes.
Okay. Did you notice any connection between the life or this topic that you remembered and your current life?
Actually, yes. It was... So, for you to understand, you must know the problem. And the problem, roughly, it was, because it was operated, a hole in the heart ventricle. It doesn't matter really, but this hole, I was born with it in this life. And I've noticed that in a past life, I was stabbed in the heart. And it was a connection here.
So that is what you remembered? The past life in which you were stabbed?
Yes.
So that's how you were able to make the connection with the...
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I've heard that these methods can also be applied as therapies. Have you noticed any improvement in your health after you had this experience?
Yes, I had before the regression. I had palpitations, and afterwards, palpitations stopped. So yes,
That's pretty impressive.
yes,
So,
yes, it worked well.
so
You
the,
see how I fall in love with the technique.
so you definitely experienced this health benefit then
Yes.
in your case.
Yes.
In this experience that you had, did you also see by chance any other people from that previous life where you were stabbed in the heart? And
Yes, I actually acknowledged some familiar faces from that life, and I could make a connection between those faces and the people that were present in this current life at that very moment.
yeah, that would have been my next question. If you were able to draw any parallels between those people and the people in your current life.
Yes, it was actually. This is one of the parts which was so interesting because even though the faces in the past life were not the same as the faces in this life, I could know for certain 100% that they were the same person, you know?
I understand. Can you tell us a bit about the roles that these people had in that previous life and how did these roles change in the current life? Did they have the same roles or are they meeting different roles in your life at the moment?
Well, in that regression particularly, they had roughly the same roles. So, the same roles.
Okay. And have you told these people about your experience?
Yes. Yes.
And what was their reaction?
And some of them laughed at me, but also they were like, I'm laughing, but it's not quite my laugh. Something, maybe you may be onto something there, you know, you may be onto something. Maybe you're not crazy. Maybe you have some point. Yes. And they left it like that. I don't know.
And has anything changed in your attitude towards these people?
Yes, I found deeper understanding about their motives and their reactions, and I find out that I have more patience with them because I understand at a deeper level why they are in the way they are and why they react in the way they react. Yes.
So it gave you a broader understanding, like
Yes.
a big picture of the situation.
Yes.
Do you think that these experiences help to clarify conflicts and to improve relationships in this case?
Oh, yes. Yes, definitely, yes. Yes, it's from which I've tried, and I tried, I don't know, a lot of techniques. It's the best. It's the best. Yes, it's the one that gave the best results in the shortest amount of time with actually with a little bit of work. It's not such a long and hard and difficult process. If you have a conflict, you go in a regression, you see the cause, you dissolve the cause, and you get deeper understanding, and then that it is. The conflict is gone. It's like this. It's very simple.
Sounds really simple and efficient at the same time.
Yes, it really is. Yes.
What impression do you have of this experience with regressions? If you can tell us a few closing words overall.
Well, I think even if you are a skeptic or a believer, I think you should try this technique. If you're a skeptic, to prove that you are right and you should not believe in past life and in reincarnation. And if you are a believer, you are also right because you can believe in past life and in reincarnation. It's a technique that can be used in any circumstances and by anyone who has the ability to be just a little bit open and just a little bit curious about those what ifs. You know, that's the only thing that you must possess. A little bit dose of what if. Yes.
Bit of curiosity and openness.
Yes, exactly.
Can you tell us what did this experience change in you?
Well, beside my attitude toward those person involved in that particular event, it also changed the way I view myself, and it increases the doses of self-love. Yes.
I have one last question for you, although I think it's kind of rhetorical since you said that you're doing this method for like more than 5 years. I would like to ask you if you would still like to remember other lives, even from now on.
Oh, yes. Actually, the way I approached things was okay. So I have very much traumas. I had a pretty hard life, and let's say I must visit all those events in this life to see what happened, why, etc., etc. And then those traumas start to fade, and you are left with, I can't find anything wrong with me, you know? And then you go and search in past lives. I'm kidding, no. But it's actually pretty amazing and pretty exciting when you go into a regression and you access a past life. It's actually very exciting feeling. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for your time and thank you a lot for this interview.
Thank you very much.
Hope to have you again soon.
Thank you.
We thank again Maria for her openness to share with us from her experience. If you remember at the beginning of our talk, she gave us an overview about the different methods that she tried. I would like to use this chance to present to you the 3 main benefits from applying the regression technique. First and foremost, we can apply the technique in order to understand the causes of life situations. Second of all, we can apply it as a therapeutical method, and here I can give you at least 11 examples about the areas in which it can be applied. For example, it can be applied for understanding and for becoming aware of emotional states as a psychological process. It can also be applied for the awareness of the causes of psychosomatic illnesses, and maybe you are also aware that most of the diseases that we have today are psychosomatic. The technique can also be applied for the elimination of destructive mental programs, for the complementary treatment in case of addictions, for healing intrauterine traumas, as well as for healing the trauma of birth, for treating postpartum depression, for dissolving the trauma of loss or abandonment, for accessing events from past lives, for improving family relations, and also for regaining vitality. And the last category of benefits belongs to the personal and spiritual development through the knowledge of the past lives. I would actually suggest to prepare a separate episode in which we can elaborate in detail on the benefits of using the technique. In this way, you can also check for yourself if the challenges that you are currently going through can be resolved with this method. As a closing for today's episode, I would like to leave you with 2 quotes. One is from Plato's work, The Principes, in which he writes the following about the final goal of reincarnations. And I quote, "Every soul comes into the world strengthened by its victories and weakened by his failures in his previous life. His place in the world is determined by his past sins and merits. They decide whether he will have respect or contempt. His deeds in this life decide his place in the next existence." And I end the quote. And the second quote that I would like to share with you as a closing for today is from the Zohar, the Book of Splendor, in which we can read the following, referring to reincarnation. And I quote, "The souls must return to the highest substance, where they originate from. For this, however, souls must develop all the virtues, the seeds of which are planted in us. And if they cannot achieve this state in course of a single life, then they must begin a new one, then again another, and so on, until they reach that state in which they are ready to be reunited with God. Thank you for being with me today too. I'm looking forward to welcome you again next week for a new episode in which we will continue our series of interviews with the next guest that has recalled some of his past lives and would like to share from his experience with us. I wish you a nice week ahead. Join me next time.